Hey guys, it's time to get hyped with HMK. Today I'm going to present to you one of my most requested videos of all time, my top 10 Legend of Zelda games. The Legend of Zelda is my favorite video game series hands down, and in all honesty, it was kinda hard to put together a list like this, because I love all Zelda games, but there are some games that are definitely better than others in my opinion. And with Zelda Wii U firmly in our sights, I feel it's only natural to put out a video like this. So it's time to count down HMK's top 10 Zelda games. Perhaps the best example of the return to old when it comes to the grand Zelda franchise. The Minishcap offers one of the best classic Zelda experiences, and the best part about it is that it was on the go. The story was pretty impactful in its own right, telling the tales of the hero and the bound chest, while giving an origin story to one of Zelda's most deadliest villains, Vati, and explaining some interesting secrets that surround the Zelda lore for years, such as rupees in the grass. What really got me into this game was the gameplay features that normally belong to a 3D Zelda were in this game. I was like, yo! Item mapping, rolling, sword techniques, goodness gracious the hype. The Minishcap's adventure was so well rounded and polished, it showed that Zelda games of old can still bring it in later years. However, the game was a bit too short, and the Kinstone feature was cool until it got a bit repetitive. Despite this, the Minishcap doesn't come up short when it comes to holding the Zelda name, and it gets number 10. Yes, these two games share a spot on the list. Oh, come on now, they're two different games. Yeah, but this is my list, so deal with it. The Oracle games, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, was a definite first. The games had the ability to link up. Get it? Link? You know, because that's this. Anyways, and give you some cool goodies in the game. In Ages, you had to save the Oracle Nehru from Varen in Labrina. In Seasons, you had to save the Oracle Din from Onyx and Holodrum. And you saved the Oracle Feor from cheat codes in a tree. Yeah. At first I thought these games would be more of a side Zelda adventure, but sure enough, each game proved to be a formidable quest, and the linked ending was well worth the conquest. For years, these games have graced the handheld market as the definitive mobile games. Well, that is until recently. But be sure enough, the Oracle games are at number 9 for damn good reason. That's right, the original, the Hyrule Fantasy. I gotta tell you guys, when I popped this in my NES machine, oh my goodness, the wonder, the majesty, the exploration. It was great. Few other games at the time really allowed you to go full force in this grand quest with optimal results. You play as Link, the hero of Hyrule that literally came out of nowhere to save the Princess Zelda from the evil clutches of Ganon. But wait, you already know this. But if this game was so awesome, why is it on the lower part of the spectrum of the top 10? Well, because this indeed was the first Zelda game, and it definitely had a long way to go before it became the great series it is now. The story was basically invisible, and on a personal note, the lack of towns made it a bit too eerie for my taste. But besides all of that, The Legend of Zelda still had a great battle and adventure system, a surplus of secrets and challenges, and it even had a second quest from the beginning. Jesus, this game! And that's why Zelda 1 gets number 8. Here we go, one of the biggest Legend of Zelda adventures ever, and a game that was hyped up years before its release, Twilight Princess. After being revealed at E3 2004, I had to wait like a good boy for this game to drop, and when it did, holy hell, it was worth it. But it still had some issues. The dark atmosphere, the robust and hardened combat, the expansive Hyrule that was left for you to explore on your trusty steed. Twilight Princess was definitely my kind of Zelda game, with the story revolving around the fate of the Twili, the Shadow Invasion, and the hero Link purging Hyrule of the darkness with the help of Midna. The story was definitely one to remember for its dire and consequential matters. Though Twilight Princess was awesome, it falls short in some areas such as the brain-dead boss fights, the barren Hyrule field, the lack of abundance of meaty side quests. However, despite all of that, the combat, the dungeon design, and a plethora of other things makes Twilight Princess one of the most beloved Zeldas, and a definite on this list at number 7. A Link to the Past was that game that took everything from the original Zelda and made it better in every way. But for you young generation of whippersnappers, think of the effect that Bayonetta 2 had on the original. Not only it added a much needed sense of direction, but it also had a riveting story that told tales of the Triforce and the imprisoning war. Hell, even in the beginning of the game it had major feels. Your uncle dies, in which you are forced to take up his mantle. A Link to the Past also introduced the now infamous Dark World that doubles as the pivotal Sacred Realm. For me, A Link to the Past was the first true Zelda game that showed me the majesty of Hyrule, its kingdom and many realms. The game wasn't shy on secrets either, as it had a multitude. The only reason why this game isn't higher on the list is because since then, other games have been released and were better in my opinion, but A Link to the Past was on point for the longest, and it still is today, and I implore all of you guys to play it. It gets number 6. The Wind Waker is an awesome Zelda game, but at the time of its reveal up to the time of its release, and even lingering now, the game has some bad press due to some massive confusion thanks to the Space World 2000 Zelda tech demo. But if you were actually smart enough to look past all that crap, you would see that the Zelda game of The Wind Waker is one of the most magical Zelda games ever. The Wind Waker broke out into the scene with its own graphical style, a new world that would take place on a grand sea. Set as the first game in the adult timeline, though on the surface the Wind Waker looked lighthearted, it had some severely dark undertones due to the grave fate of Hyrule. Taking to the sea, your new transportation was a boat, and you also had the wind to command to guide you and solve puzzles, all of which was a breath of fresh air. Anyways, the Great Sea was an overworld unlike any I had ever seen. It was truly a land, a sea that was begging to be explored. Along with the flashy yet familiar combat system and the new parry abilities, Link felt more mobile than ever before. What kept the Wind Waker back was the overall traversing was pretty tedious, having a fairly small amount of main dungeons for a Zelda game with a total of 7, and to many a story and art style that was a massive turnoff. But not for me, it isn't. Wind Waker is cool. However, all these problems were fixed and more in the remake port, the Wind Waker HD, which was just fantastic. All of that being said, the Wind Waker blows into the top 5 of the top 10 at number 5. Hands down the most twisted, dark, and effed up Zelda game in existence, and I adore it. Majora's Mask was originally conceived as Zelda Gaiden, and was to be created on the heels of the success of Ocarina of Time, and boy did it deliver. Majora's Mask truly set itself apart from all other games due to its numerous expansions and inclusions of mechanics over its predecessors and even its successors now, including the focus on masks, the abundance of worthy side quests, and the genius 3D system that constantly remind you of certain doom for the land of Termina. Though this game itself didn't really have much of the actual Zelda, it was a Zelda nonetheless. With a story that tells of a land with a cruel fate, and the only one to save that world is the hero of time. I was truly emotionally invested in beating this game. I truly wanted to rescue the land of Termina, as it was so alive and dear to me. Even with all of this, the game did suffer in some respects. The most notable is having only 4 true dungeons. I'm sorry, I love Majora's Mask, but despite having all of those awesome side quests and mini dungeons, that is unacceptable in my book. Even still, Majora's Mask is a great Zelda game, and as such, it receives a remake on the 3DS as Majora's Mask 3D, and this is why Majora's Mask gets number 4. Dropping in 2013, A Link Between Worlds was one of those games that breathed life into the series. Sure, it lifted a lot from A Link to the Past, well, because it was a pseudo-sequel, but this game was it. It reminded us one of the most important aspects of Zelda, the open world freedom element, and this game did that like none other before. With the new item rental system, you had the opportunity to tackle nearly any dungeon in any order, and there was no shortage on that. One of the things that I completely love about this game is that since the items were free to be rented at any time, the rewards in the dungeons truly felt like rewards. Things that you expect from side quests. Oh, I get a bigger stamina gauge for tackling this dungeon? Oh gee man, thanks! However, a complaint of mine when it comes to this game is that because of the freedom element of A Link Between Worlds, there was really no set path to take, and because of that, the narrative suffered hugely, as there was virtually no need, as a story is what usually helped you along your road in most Zelda games. Not to say the story was bad, but it was definitely lacking. In spite of that, this game was a complete joy to play, to finish, and to complete. And though it was recent, A Link Between Worlds gets number 3 on my list. The first and last true Zelda game on the Wii, Skyward Sword was the other game aside from A Link Between Worlds that truly breathed new life into Zelda. Were perhaps one of the strongest narratives in the Zelda series, Skyward Sword proved that Nintendo had the power to create vivid tales for its iconic franchise. Set as the origin story for The Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword told stories and revealed truths behind the Master Sword, the land of Hyrule, the spirits of Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf, and how they are bound together. All of this is stemmed from the age-old tale of simply a boy seeking to reunite with a lost loved one. Along with all of this came the amazingly done motion control system for combat and the awesome one-to-one swordplay. I was skeptical at first, but it worked for me, and boy did it work. Skyward Sword also expanded elements for the Zelda series, such as item upgrades, synthesis, abundant battlefields, temples, and impressive boss battles. One of the downsides to Skyward Sword was the overworld. Though it was great, Zelda has always been known for exploring large worlds, where in Skyward Sword it was much more condensed. However, because of this, every nook and cranny in the world of Skyward Sword contained some sort of goodie, secret, or battle that was beckoning you to tackle it. People tend to give Skyward Sword hate for some of the same dumbass reasons they gave Wind Waker and Twilight Princess initial hate, but in recent years, people seem to back off. Skyward Sword added some impressive magic to the Zelda series, and many new colorful characters and lore that just brings the series to new heights of greatness. All of this with a fun, impactful adventure that truly demands the respect and love of gamers everywhere. Despite some flaws, that is why this game gets number 2. Oh yes, I can hear the screams of the anti-Ocarina of Time league crying out bullshit. That's right people, Ocarina of Time gets number 1 for a multitude of reasons. Oh, and before you start yelling out, oh you only love that game due to nostalgia. Well, the game is timeless and does beckon nostalgia, but how about you actually open your mind and hear what I have to say? The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, in my opinion, is not only the best Zelda game created, but also the best game I have ever played to this day, and that is saying something. The game flawlessly broke out onto the 3D scene when a multitude of games failed to make the transition. What we got was a beautiful world of magic and secrets, with a multitude of settings and colorful characters, and moments that will live in the hearts and minds of gamers everywhere up until this day. The game's story was a true epic that told the age-old tale of good versus evil, but with some ghastly deep implications that shook the foundation of time within the chronology of Zelda forever. From a mechanic standpoint, Ocarina of Time deserves unwavering praise due to its breakthroughs in the gaming industry that continues to be emulated to this day, including Z-targeting, in which you can focus on enemies and keep the action flowing by tracking its whereabouts relative to your movement, and the ingenious rendering loophole technique, in which the game renders all areas within your third-person sight without overloading the game's memory by reloading what's behind you. The puzzles and combat within this game perfectly complemented the new 3D style game and proved that Nintendo is on top of things when it comes to gaming. Some of my favorite things about Ocarina of Time is the implementation of music and its necessity in order to complete certain challenges and their unique powers. Also the power of traveling through time to 2 distinct time periods in which you can complete certain tasks and certain areas of the world would and could change due to your influence. Many people like to use the failed argument against Ocarina of Time by trying to scale it against today's constantly evolving standards and fail to realize that you can't hold that against a game in the past, and despite most of those claims, Ocarina of Time still comes out on top. The game has received numerous ports and even a remake on the 3DS in 2011 that was met with acclaim all over again. Criticize all you want, everyone knows deep down why this game is amazing, and despite all of its unnecessary hate, it still holds a spot in gaming forever. Try to think about why, and if you can, then you'll see why Ocarina of Time gets number 1 on HMK's top 10 Zelda games. I hope you enjoyed the list, and I hope your favorite Zelda game made it up there. What is your favorite Zelda game of all time? Be sure to leave it in the comment section below and keep the hype flowing by hitting that like button and subscribe. While you're at it, don't forget to favorite and share this with all your Zelda fanatics. And be sure to follow HMK on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with all the Zelda goodness. Until the next Zelda video, I've been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.